What's up, everybody? So I've been developing a new way to plant and grow microgreens, and we're gonna Martha Stewart this shit together a little bit. It's really simple. This is my fucking my farm for now, and you need a paper towel medium. You need a sprayer with I use hydrogen peroxide because it kind of gets my humidity requirements, but it also introduces hydrogen peroxide, which kills bacteria. So I like to clean as much as I can. Hydrogen peroxide doesn't harm anything living in the system, it only helps. It also adds oxygen, so I'm experimenting with that. And then I got my microgreen seeds. This is broccoli, organic broccoli seeds, and a spoon, which you'll find will hold about a teaspoon of material. So what I do is, these are, I think, 10 inches wide. Oh, what big are these guys? 9 by 12. So 9 across, 12 long. So I put two together, that's 24 inches. So they hang off the side. And I just center it, lay it flat. You can tell, first off, I'm using my trays quote-unquote upside down. That's to elevate the media out of the water so it doesn't get too saturated. It'll introduce mold to your microgreens. And you can see there's one root from another harvest. Those roots are going to hit the water line and draw nutrients as right around a week or so when they need it. And then the edges hang off and dip into the water so that you're getting constant moisture as the media allows based on its capillary action. So just center it, hang it off. First thing you do is you mist the media to get it wet. Kind of prime in the pump here. You can't get it too moist, it'll drip anything excess through. In fact, you want full saturation if you can. You have to maximize the humidity locally around the cell membranes of the root, the seed casing. You're mimicking spring from what I gather online from my research. So I'm a little off center. I'm just going to pull it. You want to be careful. Once you moisten it, it's hard to get flat again. You can see I got these air bubbles. And what I'm trying to do here, you want to maximize the odds of success. So the flatter the membrane, the more even the media, the flatter the canopy, the better the results are going to be. And then I take, there's a mesh bottom tray, I take another one that's dry, and I put it upside down. And here you can see I'm using these holes in it to evenly space my seed distribution. Just a little trick. Farmers use something similar to plant baby leaf. So that's where I got the idea from. And then I sprinkle 4 spoonfuls. Should be 3 to 4 teaspoons. You know, it depends on what kind of spoon you have. For my sake, you know, these are rough experiments, but as long as they're consistent, I think we'll be fine. Might have done one extra, we're going to find out. The nice thing is about this method is that it keeps every seed on the tray. Okay, so I could have been more careful there. And then I take a dry one, I wad it up so there's like a little bit of a paint thing, and I just get the rest of the seeds out of the corners into the center of the tray. The edges tend to build up. We'll see how we can do that. And I have a little bit extra seeds, so I just, okay? That's why I have this guy here to catch anything extra. These seeds will not therefore end up in your system. And here you have a reasonable dispersal. There's a cluster here, there's less here. I'm not going to touch it, honestly, because as soon as you touch it, well, I'll show you, they clump. So it's hard to manually get this dispersal of the seeds like you would through this method. The nice thing is here you have a little bit of edge all the way around, and that encourages. Well, I should say they sometimes you get too many seeds on the edges. And then the next thing is you spray the whole thing from a high enough distance to not push the seeds with the force of the spray. Again, you can't over mist. Anything extra will just drop through, but you don't want to move the seeds, so you can't you can't use a watering can or anything because the force of the water drops themselves will move the seeds around, and you don't want too much clustering. A little bit of clustering is fine, but you got to get airflow to every root, to every shaft ultimately. So now I have a really evenly dispersed, high density, optimally arranged set of microgreens. And now there's a couple of things you can do with this here. You can leave it be in this tray. If you have a lid, in fact, I'll use this method here and test it overnight. Right, you can just put it on top, and it sits, and it's perfect. There's a little bit of gap, no seeds are touching. This is actually optimal. I have 2 trays in the system covered, one by this, one by a flat with holes, and this is the best because again you want an even environment, even an optimal environment around every seed, especially germination. Just like babies, the conditions under which a seed germinates dictate its entire output across its maturation cycle. So if we're, as humans, not germinated properly, it affects our IQ and everything else in our lives. We can overcome that, these plants cannot. So getting it right up front is really critical. And then I'm going to leave this for 2 to 3 days. I'm actually going to cover it with a dark membrane as well. And I want maximum humidity personally, so there is a hole here, which I would cover if I had the cover. These are slit, but what I'm going to do is cover it. What I'm trying to do is get the seeds to germinate and mimic breaking through soil and reaching for sunlight. So I'm going to let them stretch a little bit, and they'll be yellow. 2 to 3 days should be enough. I want all the, not the true leaves, but the first little leaves of the seedlings to get off the medium. So sometimes they'll spill out over, and then they'll have to get up. I want them up and out, so when I put them in the system, they're not, and the water gets into the media, they're not held down by the water tension in a highly, fully moistened media. So leave that for 2 to 3 days, 24 to 72 hours, depending on the heat, and I'll come back and check on it. If mine has a hole here because I'm using it from the system, if this is not, if there's a riser that you can make sure it's waterproof, or if there's no hole, you could put a little bit of water here and it would just guarantee there's no action. Yeah, I can't mess with this one. Okay, so that's this one. If you want to learn how to do this yourself, join our growing community at stackfarming.co. And we have a social media site where we're showing everything. Of course, these videos are for free. If you want to learn how to grow on our system, download the parts kit and get growing here. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. I'm going to talk about planting basil.